Welcome back. Welcome back. Once again, this is Queen Vi's Reality Talk. I'm your host, Queen Vi. You just heard a song that the lovely Miss Jennifer Fouche performed. Amazing voice. Love her voice. Love her as an actress. I sing her personally in the stage play Sisters. Fell in love with it and her. We're going to bring her on now and get this interview started. Jennifer, you there?
Yes. Hi. How you doing?
I'm doing great. First off, I want to start off by thanking you for being a guest on my show, taking time out your schedule to call in today for me to interview you.
Oh, no, thank you, really. I mean, it was just really lovely of you to ask.
Okay. We're going to start, we're going to start this interview off. I just want you to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and where they can find your work at.
Well, I am very blessed to say that I'm a working actor in New York, and I was in the off-Broadway show Sisters. You should still go see it. It's still running. It's 6 years running and strong, or going into its sixth year. I originated the role of Roberta, and so I've been with it since the workshop, and I was with the show for 5 years, and I left because other opportunities were pulling me away. I found that my understudy was on stage more than I was. So I realized, okay, it's time to exit. My time with the show is over. I was blessedly getting more television and a couple of movies and more regional, gigs that were taking me out of town. I'm trying to figure out where people can find me. I that recording, it was so funny because I'm like, oh, I know that song. Wait, and I literally said, oh, I like her voice. Oh, wait, that's me. That's terrible. I didn't realize it. That's what I was listening to anyway. But that was crazy. That was at my favorite open mic spot called Singer Space, which is at 96th and Broadway in Manhattan. It's where Symphony Space is. It's Bar Talia, and it's really lovely because you get all kinds of people. You get people in Broadway and the off-Broadway community who come in and just hang out and, work out and do stuff. And then you get people who just love to sing who are fabulous, like these old-school jazz heads who never sang necessarily professionally, but they've got these wonderful voices. And then people who, probably by most people's standards maybe should only sing in the shower, but they get up there and they're amazing. And it's wonderful, and it's such a loving space, and that's why I like being there. It's not competitive or anything like that. It's very lovely, and that's where we recorded that, myself and Robert Fowler, actually on the show the gig I'm doing right now. I'm doing Ain't Misbehavin' up at Syracuse Stage in Syracuse. And Robert is the male understudy for our show, and we're good friends. So he's here with me now, which is just kind of funny, up in Syracuse. But other than that, concerts and things just kind of, you'd have to just kind of look for my name. I don't have a regular cabaret or anything like that, but I'm constantly working, which I feel very, very blessed and happy to say. So I'm around.
Okay. So how long was Sisters your first thing you act on, or have you been acting before then?
No, it definitely wasn't my first, but acting is actually career number 2 for me. I was in the music industry as a recording artist for almost 13 years, roughly 13 years. I had a record that got big overseas. I had the opportunity to open for some incredible people like Martha Wash, which was just a wonderful experience. And I toured Europe and all of that, and it was wonderful until it wasn't. So the record industry changed, and just because of who I am, it became something that for me was very toxic. It was also going through a real metamorphosis. It was getting away from art and the artists. This was in the early 2000s, late 90s, and it was just getting more difficult. And I got out of it between that time period where YouTube really even truthfully existed in any real way, and the internet, the way people could self-promote. It used to be that if you were making your own stuff and self-promoting and basically acting as your own label, you were selling stuff out of your trunk and at gigs. There's nothing wrong with that, but it was just much more tedious. And by that time, I've been in the business for a long time. It had soured for me. And I realize now that was just my destiny. It was time to move on. And the acting really kind of found me. I had no idea that I even had the skill set for it. My mother was a brilliant actor when I was growing up, theater and all of that. And she did commercials and modeling because she's beautiful and perfect. So, I grew up watching her, but it never occurred to me to act. I've been singing since I could talk. And that was where my passion was. In any case, as it turns out, when I was, I knew, because art is not just what I do. An artist is who I am. And when you're born an artist and you can't do art, you really go through some real changes, feeling all the feelings, and so many of them not good when you don't know how you're going to express your art. And I no longer was going to express myself in the music industry, and I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know what to do. I auditioned for the touring cast of The Lion King. As it turns out, I was actually too tall, which is just really, that's this industry all over, and for the role that I was auditioning for. But that gave me the courage to audition for, I was living in Cincinnati at the time, for the Cincinnati Black Theater Company for a show called A Tribute to Motown. And I figure, I've got this on general principle. I am from Detroit. Quit playing. I'm going to book this case. I'm going to be in this show. I have to be in this show. And I was, and I booked it, and they thought I had so much, quote, personality that they expanded my role. They gave me these monologues, and I was terrified. I'd never even been in a high school play. So I went home to my mother. Oh, girl, look, the fear was real. It was very real. And so I went home to my mother I need you to help me with this. I played Martha Reeves of Martha and the Vandellas. I have met Martha Reeves several times. She came to see Sisters in Michigan, actually, side note. It was the first regional performance ever of Sisters, and they asked me to be a part of it. And, of course, I was, because the show was so close to my heart. But in any case, I played that role. I went on stage. I said my monologue on opening night and knew that at that point on I wanted to study acting. So my husband, who was incredibly supportive, and I talked about it. I came to New York, studied at an incredible, very old, very respected drama school. Adrian Brody went there. Anne Hathaway went there. Danny DeVito, Robert Redford, Jason Robards, Lauren Bacall. It's truly Hollywood royalty, the real actors, right? Called the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, ADA. And I studied there, and after my first acting class on day one, I realized that all my life, I was a singer who dreamt of being in a Broadway show, but who never necessarily thought she would really act. And after my first acting class on my first day of school, I realized, oh, my God, all my life I'd been this actor who could sing and had no idea. So it's been a beautiful journey. I got out of school in 2008, and I booked Sisters in 2011. So it was sort of midway. I'd done some shows. By that point, I'd done Fades in Toyland at Lincoln Center. I'd done, over a dozen plays, I'm sure, and, things like that. So it was definitely earlier in my career because I'd only been out of school for 3 years. But it wasn't my first, but just a beautiful experience that has meant so much and done so much for me.
Okay. So do you have any projects that's coming up?
Well, I am, as I said, I'm doing Ain't Misbehavin', and that